Welcome back to the best division in football with your boys Awthentik and The Beard, the best television show not on TV. What a way to finish the season for my New York Giants. Get the W against the Philadelphia Eagles. I know a lot of people were looking for draft position there, but I'm not too mad at that W. If it was going to come against any team, not a bad one to come against those Philadelphia Eagles who had won a couple in a row against the New York Giants as well. A lot of firings in the NFL yesterday. We are definitely going to get to that today during these segments, during these games. We got to talk about the Cowboys, who definitely beat the brakes off those Washington Commanders 38-10. And we're going to talk about my New York Giants. Shout out to the gang one time who get the W over the Philadelphia Eagles 27-10. Big shout out to all of y'all that showed some support and some love on that video we released just the other day. Speaking on the New York Giants press conference, a lot of news came out. We're going to get to it today, but without further ado, let me bring in the best co-host in the country. I just saw him exhale something over there one time in misery for his Washington Commanders. The strong side to the left side duo, my brother from another mother, The Beard. How you living, my guy?
I survived Black Monday. You know, I didn't get fired, thank God. Thank you to the executives here at Awthentik and The Beard. I appreciate that for allowing me to keep my job for another season. My contract has been extended. Yes.
Yep.
But, you know, listen, the season's over. And I think that's a good thing if you're a Washington Commanders fan. You know, I love football. I love my Commanders. I will watch it no matter what. But you know, it was time for this season to be over. When I started the year, I said that Ron Rivera wasn't going to be the coach. So I was right about that. I was right about the Philadelphia Eagles being 11-6. I was right about that too.
Not bad.
So I hit, 2 out of, maybe 700 takes there in the beginning of the season. But, a win is a win.
Got to take them how you can get them. How you feeling about having the number 2 selection in the draft coming up in 2024?
It's gonna be interesting. It's wild because a lot of what you and I, the temperature that we gauge from the fan base, a lot of it comes from Twitter, and so there's going to be a lot of back and forth, which direction should we go in? I think having the number 2 pick is a luxury. And so I'm looking forward to it. I think for me, I'm not focused on the number 2 pick yet. I'm more focused on who's going to be making the number 2 pick. I think is where I'm more focused on right
that's
now.
That's out of your control, though, man. There's nothing you can really do about it.
Yeah, there's nothing I can do about it. I mean, I'm not making the pick. If it was up to me, I don't even know where I would go exactly right now. To be perfect. Well, yeah, I mean, I probably would go quarterback, but I don't know if I need to get more involved in the May Day stuff. I got to find where I sit on Drake May, because to me I'm not there yet. I haven't been sold on Drake May enough. I'm still more of a Penix and Daniels. I think are to me are ahead of May. There's a lot of people out there that are clamoring for us to take an O lineman at number 2 and think that it would be egregious if we drafted a quarterback because he can't play behind a broken line. But
yeah, the Giants fan base talking like that too.
You know how it is. So for me, it's a luxury. I think we have the number 2 pick. We have 5 picks in the top 100. I think that the other thing is a lot of people don't realize is that we not only do we have the number 2 pick in the first round, but every other round after that, we have the second pick in that round. So, we have 5 picks in the top 100. We're probably going to have somewhere between $80 and $90 million in cap space. So there's a lot to be excited about. I'm not like completely down and out. I got a little excited there after a blocked field goal on Sunday, and we'll talk a little bit about that moving forward. But yeah, it's an exciting time. To be as bad as we were this year, it's an exciting time here in Washington for Commanders fans. So there is a little bit of positive to that, and I think people were really eager to get to this point of the season once it just went completely off the rails.
Yeah, it definitely went completely off the rails for y'all. Do you think y'all are more of a more indicative of the team that you saw at the beginning of the year, or the one that we saw towards the end of the year?
I think we're somewhere in between. I think we're a shell of the team that we saw in the beginning of the year, but I also think at the end of the year, it's just it got to a point, and I don't want to say players stop playing or coaches stop coaching, because I that's not a discussion I ever like to put myself into, because I don't know. I'm not, I never want to think that about players and coaches, but I just think it got to a point for Washington where it was so bad, and players were traded, people were banged up, things were just not going well. The firing of Jack Del Rio and Ron just, he wasn't like a dead man walking, you know what I'm saying? But and this is why I said it in the beginning of the year. I said that he had just gone through so much. No other coach in the Washington Commanders team or Redskins franchise had to go through anything remotely close to what Ron Rivera had to go through. So for me, it's just, I think the team has some pieces, but to double down on what I said a couple weeks back, as good as Terry McLaurin is, we do not have an absolute, and Jonathan Allen and Daron Payne, we do not have an absolute superstar on this team. There is not a blue chip elite player on this team right now. Can those three guys be that? I think so. But for me, if they're going to need pieces around them to bring that out of them once again. But I just think we got a lot of holes to fill, but we have the draft capital and the cap space to do so. So I'm excited about that.
Yes, interesting. Washington, going to hit the reset button for real, it seems like this time, after a team that's kind of been around 500 or just below it for the better part of this past decade. Now you're looking at what at least seems on the surface to be a complete rebuild here for Washington. I kind of envy y'all situation because at least now that you can just commit to it and just go after it, and try to get yourselves the right quarterback if it's not going to be Sam Howell. And just, get that team headed in the right direction. I think that's very important, after kind of blowing it up there right around the trade deadline. But I don't know about what you're seeing around here, but from what I'm seeing around here, Washington fans are not invested in football at all. I don't even think people care about the draft anymore because they don't think that it's going to fix the problems that y'all have and all the holes that you need to fill on that roster.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot, but shout out to the people that are still here with me, and Commanders, or there are people that are definitely still upset that we're the Commanders. I saw they asked Josh Harris at the press conference. They asked him. They said, what about the rebrand? He's like, listen, we got a whole lot of things to be worried about right now. That's not one of them. So I think people just need to get over it. I think one thing at a time. There's so much that needs to be done. I like where we're going, and we'll talk about it a little bit. We've made some big moves yesterday, which I'm super excited about. So we're going to touch on some of that. I see a lot of people in the chat, all the fans from all the different fan bases. Big shout out to each and every one of you that are watching us across all of the platforms. That is Facebook, that is Twitch, that is Twitter, and of course, right here on the YouTubes. We appreciate all the love and all the support.
I like that. The YouTubes. Why is it got to be plural? Why are we going to Marvin's?
Because it's a combination of the DMV and old people talk. Because old people like to say the Facebook. They always like to put the in front of Facebook and an S at the end of YouTube. So if you're watching us on the Facebook and the YouTubes, thank you.
Big shout out to all of y'all, man. Definitely appreciate y'all pulling up, rocking out with us today, man. On the last NFC East recap featuring both of our teams, let's get right to it, man. Cowboys traveled up here to FedEx Field to take on the Commanders. It was a slaughterhouse.
I automatically heard slaughterhouse, doom, 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 just jump in my head.
I like that. It was definitely a slaughterhouse for the Washington Commanders, who fell to 4-13. The Dallas Cowboys improved to 12-5. Commanders have lost 8 games in a row, 9 of their last 10, 13 of their
I don't
last
have to hear
15.
this anymore.
It was 14-10 at the half. Commanders' second half possessions. I couldn't believe this. I thought there was a typo up here. A 3-and-out with a block punt, an interception, and a punt. That's it. That was all she wrote for the second half for the Commanders. The Commanders ran 15 total plays in the second half. I don't think I've ever seen a game with that low amount of plays ran in the second half. The Commanders had the lead right before the end of the first half. It was 10-7. That's when the Beard got reeled in, probably thinking that it was going to be a repeat of last season's victory against the Dallas Cowboys with everything on the line. The Cowboys drives from that point on, and let's fade out the Beard's anthem one time. I thought about using this beat on that video the other day, and I was like, let me not do that to the Beard one time. But the Cowboys drives from that point on was 4 straight touchdowns, a missed field goal, which Brandon Aubrey was his first missed field goal of the year, and then a field goal on top of that. They were definitely playing no games in that second half. Dallas Cowboys definitely balling out, improved to 12-5 on the year. Do you remember, speaking of losing 8 in a row, 9 out of their last 10, 13 out of their last 15, do you remember y'all last win? I wanted to put you on the spot.
I did.
Shout out to the
I literally, I almost said Seahawks, but I'm pretty sure we lost that game.
Seahawks, nope.
Let's see. Who did we beat? We beat Denver. We beat Arizona. New England. New England was the last win.
You beat the Patriots on November 5th. It is now January 9th. God dang. I feel very bad for you. Very bad for you. Now, with this win and the Eagles loss, the Dallas Cowboys locked up the number 2 seed and they locked up the division. Still no back-to-back NFC East winners since 2004. The Cowboys now have gone 3 straight seasons at 12-5. First time the Cowboys have 3 straight seasons with a record of 12-5 since 1992. That is also the last time that they were in the NFC Championship, which was actually 1995, but it was that 3-year stretch where they had 3 years of a 12-5 record. A lot went wrong in this game, man. A lot went wrong in this game. It's funny. Every time I do that, it reminds me of Brian Dable because, yo, listen, Giants fans, a little bit off topic here. When Brian Dable is lying, he get to sucking his teeth. That's how you know. He'd be like, well, it's kind of like when the beard be like, obviously, it's kind of one of them things. But a lot went wrong with the Commanders here, man, on Sunday. Tough game for them. You had the Brian Robinson fumble. You had the block punt. You had the 2 interceptions from Sam Howell. Commanders were shut out in the second half. Just 180 total yards for the Commanders on the entire day. The Cowboys put up 440 on them. And the Commanders rushed for just 50 yards as a team. I know that bothered the Beard a lot in this one. Just 3 rushing first downs in the entire game, 12 total. Terry McLaurin did get over 1,000 yards on the season with 22 seconds left on the clock. I thought that was interesting. Definitely trying to get those incentives one time. He's the only Washington player to record 1,000 or more receiving yards in 4 consecutive seasons. So that's definitely a milestone for Terry McLaurin there one time. Now, Sam Howell, on the other hand, he came up short of 4,000 yards. He ended the year with 3,946. Finishes the year as the interception leader in the NFL with 21. He's also the most sacked quarterback in the league at 65. Now, very Jameis Winston-like season from your boy Sam Howell here. I remember Jameis Winston had the 33 touchdowns and 30 interceptions. I had to go look that up earlier. I thought that might have been the most interceptions ever, but the most is 46, came way back in the 70s.
46 interceptions?
Yeah, there was a couple of quarterbacks on there that I was pretty surprised to see up really high on that list, too. I think Vinny Testaverde was up there in the high 30s. There was a few. Jameis Winston.
Can you imagine if somebody threw 46 interceptions in a season right now?
Yeah,
how honestly, they would be
the plug
dragged?
Would get pulled faster before you threw that many interceptions. They're not going to allow that no more. But, as far as Sam Howell, I think it is interesting because with Jameis Winston, he at least threw for 5,000 yards that year, one of 16 quarterbacks to ever do so. But with Sam Howell, you come up just short of the 4,000. It almost seems like what could have gone wrong for Sam Howell in the back half of the season did go wrong. He started off really well this year. Now, Jahan Dotson, another guy you were extremely high on entering the year, finishes the year with just 518 yards on 49 receptions. On the other side of the ball here, or of the field, CeeDee Lamb, 9 straight games now with a touchdown. He had 13 receptions, 98 yards, 2 touchdowns on the day. Tony Pollard doing just enough. I mean, this seems like the theme of the year, getting the attempts. He had 17 rushing attempts in this game for just 70 yards. He had 1 touchdown on the ground. The Cowboys, I've talked about this a lot this year, maximizing those red zone attempts. They were 5 of 7 in the red zone. When I see 7 red zone attempts, I'm just like, God.
How do you think I feel? I'm a red zone god. Like, that's what one of my things.
Yeah, not so good for your Commanders. I know you're going to dig into them red zone numbers here, but Dak Prescott, man, just, I talked to the Beard about this earlier before we went on air. I had a couple questions lined up for this segment, and one of them was, is Dak Prescott the best quarterback in the NFC? And the Beard kind of felt like no reason to really even go over that at this moment in time. Dak Prescott on the day, 31 of 36. He had the interception, too, so you're looking at 4 passes that weren't caught on the entire day. 279 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception, and a big number, a great number to go into the playoffs with. Wasn't sacked once in this game.
Nope.
So Dak Prescott, definitely the best quarterback in the NFC right now. You know, I try my best not to throw shade at Dallas Cowboys, the team, the fan base, whatever it may be, Philadelphia Eagles and the Washington Commanders. I try to be like a civil fan. I don't know if you noticed that. You know, yeah, you too. I'll give you props on that as well. And when I was watching Dak Prescott on Sunday, there were times where I was like jealous, bro. I was like, Young, could you imagine like if that's your quarterback right now? And I know the Cowboys have been through the ringer and been through hell when it comes to getting a playoff win and all that. You know, that Dak Prescott, I think he has 2 playoff wins or something like that in his tenure. I know all those stats. They're not good. But when you watch Dak Prescott play this year, I just want to know if I'm tripping. Is there a part of you that when you see it, you like, does the dude miss throws? There was like one missed throw, and it was at the end of the game when they could have went up like 45-0. He missed that throw over the top to Brandon Cooks, and then they ended up kicking the field goal, and they missed the field goal. But, like, is there a part of you that goes, damn, like, it must be great to have a franchise quarterback?
I mean, that happens to me at least, 10 times on a Sunday. It's not, I mean, obviously it's a little magnified when you're watching one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL go up against, one of the worst defenses in the NFL, which just so happens to be your team's defense too. But yeah, of course, I think we talked about this multiple times this year about, Dak not necessarily getting the respect that he deserves. And I think it's difficult too, because there are some times when you're just like, okay, am I like holding on to see Dak do it against like somebody like of significance? Yes.
Yeah.
But does that take away from how good, no matter who you're like, in order to do what Dak does, you still have to be, I'm not detesting Dak. In order to do what Dak does, it doesn't matter if you do it up against the worst defense or the best defense. You still have to be able to do it, right? Yeah. It's not like Zach Wilson threw 29 of 31 or whatever Dak was for that many yards and a touchdown, So like
now just to briefly pause you real quick. I'm just talking about this season. I'm giving Dak some flowers today.
Yeah.
Who are the quarterbacks in the league? Forget the NFC. Who are the quarterbacks in the league that are better than Dak Prescott this season?
Maybe there's statistically he's the best quarterback.
I'm not saying statistically. I don't want to beat around the bush. I'm just saying like
maybe one or two. Maybe he's top 5.
Who even comes to mind? I'm not asking you all that. I just want to know, like, name a quarterback or two that you think is playing better ball than Dak Prescott right now.
Lamar, maybe. Josh Allen, maybe.
The interceptions with Josh Allen, that's where I think it gets a little dicey.
Of course, and you don't have that with Dak.
Lamar Jackson, whose statistics aren't that crazy this year, but when you watch him play, I think he's playing better ball than Dak Prescott. Max Custom Kicks said Jordan Love. It's football on Sundays, YouTube on Mondays. That's my doppelganger. Mm-hmm. I can't give you Jordan Love, though. I can't give you Jordan Love.
No, he's playing good football, but not Dak. Yeah. Dak is on a level of his own. You want to just hear really quickly the Dak stats versus Washington this year, because it's better than some quarterbacks on the New York Giants for the entire season. Dak Prescott versus Washington this year.
Y'all heard that, right? one of few.
Dak Prescott versus Washington this year. In 2 games, he was 53 of 68. That's got to be like 70-something%, right? For 610 yards and 8 touchdowns with 1 pick.
6'10". Yeah, the yardage ain't better than all our quarterbacks. I even think Dale Jones might have had something like that.
Yeah, but 8 touchdowns, 610 yards, 53 of 68 against Washington this year.
68 is ridiculous. I mean,
it's ridiculous. And
boat racing y'all the entire year.
Yeah, and I did want to bring up what Brother L said, because I was going to touch on that too. Not only did CeeDee Lamb go all those games with those touchdowns, 13 on 13 targets, 13 receptions on 13 targets in this game. I mean, that is just
he's playing great football.
I think he's another guy. Like I feel like him and Dak, right? Just because when you talk wide receivers, you talk about Justin Jefferson, right? I saw a lot of people saying if Justin Jefferson would have played every game this year, would he have the most receiving yards? And we talk about Tyreek Hill and CeeDee Lamb. I kind of feel like is a little bit of an afterthought, especially in that class. Because you had Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, and CeeDee Lamb all coming out in 2020, right?
Is that the same year? I feel like
No, Jamar Chase was
wasn't
the
same
1 year after. Jamar Chase
Yeah.
1 year. But Justin Jefferson and CeeDee Lamb were the same class.
Yeah, that's the Jalen Reagor class.
Yeah,
right?
but I mean,
Yeah.
think about that class and as a whole is going to go down. I mean, Brandon Ayuk was in that class too. You know, like that class as a whole, not just wide receiver, but just everybody. I mean, there was just so many studs out there. That CeeDee Lamb is an elite wide receiver now. And to me, one of the big things that I like to look at, he's getting better and better and better.
Yeah.
Does CeeDee Lamb's progression have a lot to do with Lamar's progression? I mean, not Lamar, the Dak's progression this season? Like, you know,
I think it has more to do with CeeDee Lamb because Dak, to me, I mean, you got to think about this. Like, just a few years ago, Dak Prescott put up like 31 passing touchdowns and had his best year ever.
Yeah.
Dak is at his peak of playing football. He's been there, I feel like, for the last 2 or 3 years. People kind of got scared last year when they saw the interceptions and whatnot. What's so interesting is everybody was worried about Dak Prescott coming into this year being a turnover machine because the quarterback play across the league was supposed to be like this anomaly of being so high with all these quarterbacks migrating to the AFC. People had these high hopes for Russell Wilson in Denver just 2 years ago. And when you look at it, quarterback play around the league, that's why I asked you about naming quarterbacks better than Dak Prescott. Quarterback play around the league went down this year.
drastically.
A lot of players got hurt this year.
Yep.
A lot of guys didn't play well. So, you know, and the one thing that I think that remained consistent here is Dak Prescott. Like, he gave you what you expected from him if you truly know what kind of quarterback Dak Prescott is. I did see that Monique said, you know, Lamar Jackson, if you take away the rushing. But that's the thing right now. With Todd Monken calling the plays over there, Lamar Jackson has not even been running the ball like that.
Yeah, a lot of
Jackson's been passing
scripted
it.
stuff. Yeah, but
Mhm.
it's just, you know, like I feel like, yeah, I think if you take Dak off the Cowboys, they're not the same. And you know, a lot of people want to use that when we talk about MVP and stuff like that. I do think that Dak, excuse me, closed the gap on Lamar a little bit on MVP race. I feel like
I think Lamar had to close the gap. I don't think Dak had – you got to think, man. Just 3 weeks ago, Dak Prescott went like 6 straight games, multiple passing touchdowns. He had the little lull when they had the 2 losses. Lamar Jackson really wasn't an MVP thought until maybe 4 weeks ago.
But see, that's what I'm saying is that, like, for me, like, I had Dak at MVP, and then it just so happened that when Dak had that little lull, Lamar, like, really stepped up, and the Ravens won some big games. And I think that Lamar leapfrogged Dak at that point. And then I feel like in this last, you know, week or so, the last 2 weeks maybe, Dak closed the gap on Lamar. So you think Dak's MVP then?
I mean, I'm not necessarily saying that, but I'm in disagreement with that Dak had to close any gap with Lamar Jackson. I don't think that's the case. Dak Prescott has been consistent throughout the entire year.
But yeah, I'm not saying that Dak wasn't consistent, but I'm saying that Lamar, for me, was in the lead for MVP. So that's why I said I think Dak closed the gap.
I think numbers matter when it comes to MVP. When you look at Lamar Jackson, just 24 passing touchdowns on the year, and I say just because we're talking about an MVP type of conversation here.
Yeah.
The turnovers were way too high in the beginning of the year with him. I mean, all the fumbles that he had, to me, it was difficult to say that at any point that Dak Prescott had to close a gap on Lamar Jackson. It's just very difficult. I mean, think about this. He's got 24 passing touchdowns on the year. He just had 5 against the Miami Dolphins. What gap are we talking about? You feel me?
No, I feel you, but you're talking numbers. I'm talking about the gap as far as MVP goes.
You can't be an MVP with 19 passing touchdowns. That's unless you're running the ball, which Lamar Jackson is. This isn't the 1,000-yard on the ground Lamar Jackson. He has like 400 or 500 yards on the ground, I think, this year. I take that back. He's got over 800 yards now on the ground.
You're convincing me a little bit more.
I just don't think, no way 3-4 weeks ago Lamar Jackson was ahead of Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott was going crazy. He's been going crazy. That's what I'm saying. It's consistent. He's been going crazy since about week 4, week 5. His play never diminished. You know what I mean?
You're convincing me a little bit here.
I just can't give you that. I just can't give you that.
I feel you. You know, speaking of passing and speaking of this game, you know how many passing first downs the Dallas Cowboys had in this game?
Let me try and take a guess. Let me go 15.
23 passing first downs in this game. 23 passing. You know, you talked about Washington, the 3 turnovers. Sam was sacked 4 times, 0 sacks for Dak. 440 to 180 total yards. I mean, that's just a number that you're never going to win a football game like that. But I was a little excited. I'm not going to lie with the block. The dude who blocked it and the dude who picked it up are two names you couldn't find one Washington Commanders fan who knew who those two guys were. So shout out to those two guys. I can't even tell you what.
Still don't know their names.
I thought Quan Martin played really well, and I think that he's played very well over the course of the back end of the season during all the bad times here. And I think that he's a guy that we can build on, but there's a lot of holes here on this team. And Tony Pollard kind of had to, if you look at the games, both games against Dallas and Washington, I think a lot of them had very similar stat lines, like Pollard and Dak and CD and the teams as a whole. So
I'm trying to think, what was the score of that first game with y'all? It was like
45
right?
to 10, I think.
God damn.
Yeah. So it's a rough go, and Sam looked about Sam. He was getting pressured. He was getting hit. I thought Eric Bieniemy called a pretty good game to begin, but like most of the games this year, just not a complete game. I mean, you talked about the second half numbers, just horrible. Yeah. I thought the on the play where the trick play, Sam missed Terry and he was wide open. I think the ball got tipped, and I think that's what happened. But that play should have been a touchdown. Sam's got to get rid of the ball a little bit earlier. On the second interception, when he gets, I think it was the second. I don't know if it was the second or the first interception. I think it was the first interception where he was going to the middle. I think it was a middle comeback route, and he got hit. Even though he got hit, he was still late on that. Yeah. Like, you got to get rid of that ball a lot quicker.
That play, really showed me that the way he's reading the field across the middle is not like an NFL quarterback. I believe that was the first one. It was like a backside dig route.
It was
that
the
he was
first
extremely late on, right? The safety, and I noticed this right off the bat because, on when you're not looking at all 22, you normally can't see the secondary. But that strong safety that was on his right side, he just played cloud the whole entire time. He just doesn't see him. He almost threw the ball right to him, and I'm just like, you cannot make those kind of mistakes. I know it was 3rd and 10, right? And you're trying to make a play down the field, but live to see another day. Those kind of interceptions are backbreakers to an offense like yours that needs – it's imperative that Washington does not turn the ball over, especially in these kind of games when you're going up against the Cowboys who can score, a boatload of points.
Yeah, so for me, Sam, pretty much kind of like the game that was – the back half of even more than I feel like than the back half, like a good third of the season. It was crazy. Is like he did get better at getting rid of the ball, in comparison to the beginning of the year for most of the second half of the year, I thought. Yeah. But he's a young guy. He made a lot of mistakes, and it's unfortunate because it's like in a situation where he really just can't win. He had to go out there and be like Jordan Love, I think, in order to secure the job moving forward. And he didn't do that. I mean, he showed you he can make plays in the NFL. Like, there's no question about that. But he just didn't do it consistently enough and without the mistakes to secure that role moving forward. Do I think that the Commanders could move forward with Sam Howell? I think so. Do I think that they should or would? I don't think so. So that's kind of like where I am with this game, and I feel like this season. I do want to say congratulations to all the Dallas. I put out a tweet. I know Brother L wanted me to read the tweet. I don't even know if I can find it right now. I tweet so damn much. But, I did make sure I put out a tweet to Dallas Cowboys fans and stuff like that because, you said, there. What's that?
I'm just joking. I said you apologize.
Yeah, I know I did. Because I had to eat. It was like a combination tweet. Like, because I found the video of somebody had posted the video, the one I was talking about last episode, where the guy was like, the Commanders are gonna go 4-13, and
they were saying them in those comments too.
Oh man.
See, people don't understand why I bring up receipts, and it's because of that. Like, I'll post a take, and people will get off to frying you, right? And then they forget about it, right? Season goes along, they completely forget that, they were saying something very outlandish. So I always pull receipts, and not a lot of people like that. I've lost a lot of relationships by pulling receipts, but it is what it is. No one should be taking Twitter that seriously.
Yeah, and that's why I think I try my best to pull my own receipts because I think that it's important to show like that's the
Eminem effect. I am white. I do live in a trailer, right? They can't come back at you.
because I think it's important because I never want to come off as a know-it-all because I'm not. And I hope that I don't come off that way to anybody. You know, like a lot of this is opinions, and a lot of my opinions I try to back up with statistical, numerical information, you know.
Yeah.
And that's where I come to my opinion. I try not to let my heart guide my opinion too much. It's tough in the beginning of the year because you're going off of last season, you're going off of, you know, a lot of hypotheticals. And I was completely wrong about the Dallas Cowboys. I think I was that was one of the biggest things is I held on to the Dak interceptions a lot more than I let that hold too much weight in my decision making for the Dallas Cowboys. So I was wrong about the Commanders. I was wrong about the Dallas Cowboys. I was wrong about Jahan Dotson. I think I was pretty close to Brian Robinson's numbers. I probably should have swapped Terry McLaurin and Jahan Dotson. If I would have done that, I think I would have gotten pretty close to those numbers. But you know, it was a tough season, tough game. I think the Dallas Cowboys really proved who they were and proved who the Commanders were. Monique, we're gonna get to these super chats in a second, but Monique has done the courtesy of adding me, and I think the Dallas Cowboys fans deserve this. So, you know, I will read it.
You're gonna read the apology.
Here we go. Congrats. And you want to put on some music for this or no?
No, I want this to be very clear and concise, you know, for our family in the chat that represents the Dallas Cowboys.
Yes. Congratulations to all the Dallas Cowboys fans. Your team proved me wrong. You turned around and won the NFC East, and I thought y'all would only win 8 games. Hashtag HTTC, hashtag AATB, hashtag NFL, hashtag NFL Twitter, at Melanie Monique, 001 Kai, and Elevon84. So
don't be hashtagging AATB and that stuff, okay?
Why not, man?
I don't
hashtag AATB and everything. So yes, and Gregory is here. So congratulations to Gregory as well. Marcus, you know, listen, you guys deserved it. You guys played a hell of a football game. You guys have played a hell of a season. You guys got a tough road ahead, but I think you know, we'll see how things go. When we make our picks at some point here for some of these games. You know, you guys are at home. That's a big thing for Dallas Cowboys. Listen, the Dallas Cowboys did what they needed to do. Philadelphia Eagles didn't. So shout out to the Cowboys fans. Shout out to the Cowboys. We will get to a couple of quick little shout outs before I think we got some questions here. But big shout outs to Door Gunner for the $5 super chat. Says, I am a Commanders season ticket holder living in Florida. Love my team. First time since the early 90s, I am optimistic about where this team is going. I think a lot of people feel just like this because, listen, we are completely, I mean, there's some guys still here, obviously, but we're pretty much completely clean here of the Dan Snyder era. You know, I did want to, you know, big shout out to Ron Rivera. Like I said, when we started the season, he faced things that no other coach in Commanders history has faced, and it was too much for him at the end of the day. Not just what he faced, but I think being the coach and, you know, head of football operations and basically the GM for a good portion of his tenure here, it was just too much for him. He was never able to actually concentrate on coaching. I think it showed by the product on the field. It was like, you know, and it showed in the GM side of things too. We're just half and half. But yeah, we're moving forward. New ownership. We brought in some big name guys on Monday to kind of help with that search for some of these positions. We're gonna have, you know, a lot of new faces here. We got a lot of draft capital, a lot of cap space. It's a good time, a good reason to be optimistic, Door Gunner.
I can't agree with you guys, but hey, more power to you. That's how you got to feel going into the next season for sure. Clean slate is always a good thing, though. I will say that.
Yeah. Big shout out to Independent Outsider for the big dub $20 super chat. Says Wink's departure bungled, hasn't officially resigned yet. The pressers, the game ball, all weak sauce shit. Wink underperforms, fire the man, or let him resign and go to a rival. If he underperformed, I want him as an Eagle.
Okay, so the first one I think you meant if he overperformed.
Mm-hmm.
We're definitely going to get to talking about the Wink stuff a little bit here. From what I'm hearing, though, that the official resignation has not been put in, but that's just paperwork, is from what I'm hearing. Dan Duggan hosted a space on The Athletic this morning where he talked about it a little bit, and he said, don't get your hopes up thinking that there's some way that Wink Martindale will be like, all right, I'm coming back, and he'll be the defensive coordinator for the Giants in 2024. So expect that resignation to go through pretty soon. Shout out Independent Outsider, man. Be having some good conversations on Twitter.
Big shout out Independent Outsider. We appreciate the love and the support. Big shout out to the Beige Boy with the $19.99 super chat. I love a good 99. Says, what up, Awthentik and the band, Bam, bleh, Awthentik and the Beard
Bam. I like that. Authentic and the Bam.
Josh is putting things together with the smart people. I love you guys are dropping a lot of quotations today. Thumbs up on that. Ron had to go. I think everybody knew that. Ron knew that. He said that in his press release. Said another high draft pick coming. Hope they go with Daniels. A lot of hope for the future. I think I said this last year too, as did I. But I think we let the freshness of the new ownership really put us into this sort of high optimistic vibes. And I think to double down on the preview on Door Gunner too, I'm not necessarily optimistic like we're going to win 12 games next year. I think we're just optimistic of the franchise as a whole moving forward for the future, not necessarily the immediate future,
of course.
But down like we have an opportunity here to really build a foundation for this franchise, and I think that's what most reasonable Commanders fans are optimistic about. I hope I put this out too. I wonder how many Commanders fans are expecting a number 2 pick turnaround, new coach turnaround like the Houston Texans had this year, are expecting that next year, and if anything else is going to be unacceptable to them. That's what I'm curious about.
There'll be some of those out there for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. But big shout out to the Beige Board. We appreciate the love and the support. You guys are really, coming out right now, showing some love, and we appreciate that. Big shout out to Behind the Fiends with the $15 super chat. Says, Beard, that Bullets beanie is fire. But as a Giants fan, I'm not that upset that Wink resigned. I think we need a new defensive mentality, but Kafka staying, I'd go get Byron Leftwich for OC if possible. I'm a big Leftwich guy. I love Byron Leftwich.
Struggled his last couple of years in the league, though.
Yeah.
Definitely struggled.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be mad at it, but I'm one of the people that's not as low about Kafka because I don't know what's going on. And seeing that press conference on Monday morning, Brian Dable is I won't even say a master at it, but he's deceiving, I feel like, especially with what he tells the press. He gave, in kind of like, how can I say this? Like, he was just leading you on to believe one thing that would leave him to be blameless. And I didn't like that about that press conference. And then, a couple hours later, you hear about Wink resigning after he fired 2 of his linebacker coaches and whatnot, kind of forced him to resign in a way. I'm sketched out about Brian Dable right now. So I don't know how much of, this offense struggling has to do with Brian Dable's philosophy or Mike Kafka calling the plays, who really isn't the boss.
Yeah, it's a lot of interesting pieces there. I think you put out some good points right there, though, about Brian Dable being a little sketchy.
A little sketchy.
I've come across a couple of Dables in my day.
Yeah, you at the frat party, send him to go get the beer with $20. He comes back with a 12-pack, and it's like, yo, where's my change, man? You know what I'm saying? It's that kind of vibe right there, dog.
That's a great analogy.
Then they're like, oh, yeah. My bad,
I
dog.
got you. And it's like 2 crumbled up dollar bills and like a dime and a penny, and you're still kind of like...
it's like 60 cents in dimes. Bro, come on, yo.
Big shout out to Monique dropping the $1.99 super chat. She definitely wanted to make sure that that tweet was found and I could read it. Yeah. You're welcome. Thank you. Big shout out to Kevin PRF for the $5 super chat. Breaking news. Commanders have requested permission to speak to Awthentik for the DB's coach and the Beard for the tight ends coach, along with everyone else. Listen, it got to that point where I put out the tweet where I was just like, look, the Commanders, and they should, rightfully so, speak to every single possible person they can for every single possible position. I think they're just doing their I'm all over the place. The due diligence.
Awthentik and the band. That was my joint right there. That's Awthentik and the band.
I was, how sometimes when you're like, you start reading the next word before you finish the other word and you combine them together. That's what that was. But I listen.
Speaking, I got you.
There's a lot of people that they're going to be talking to and a lot of people they should be talking to. So big shout out to the Kevin PRF. We appreciate the love and the support.
The Kevin PRF. I ain't seen Kevin in a minute, man. Big shout out to Kevin, dog. I hope you're doing well over there, man. Happy New Year to you, brother.
And big shout out to Behind the Fiends for the $2 super chat. Says, I'd take Rivera as the defensive coordinator for the Giants. I don't think you really mean that.
Now, Behind the Fiends, we got beef now, bro. Absolutely not. Look, when the Beard was talking about all the turmoil and, the struggles that the Washington, organization has had, and it was never a winning situation for Ron Rivera, I was like, I'm just going to keep my mouth shut. But taking Ron Rivera as our DC, did you see what happened when they fired Jack Del Rio? How that defense went from worse to worser? And that's not even a word. But they did that.
To be honest with you, I think Ron Rivera is done. I think
he's cooked.
I think this, remember when Obama came into office and he was like playing basketball and looking clean and stuff like that. And then when he left office, he was like gray hair and all that. Yeah, that's how Ron Rivera is after leaving Washington. My man just wants to go chill. I don't think he wants anything to do with the tomfoolery of the NFL
I'm going to
anymore.
refrain from frying Ron Rivera right now. I'm going to chill. I'm going to show some composure up here.
Yeah, there's no need to fry Ron Rivera. He knows he messed up.
Don't give me ammunition, bro. Just move on from it.
Big shout out to Kyle Metcalf with a $20 super chat.
What's going on, dog? This is like a Fund Me Awthentik and the Beard show. Y'all throwing out crazy super chats right now.
They realize we have less wins combined than the Cowboys do.
Oh man, that's terrible. That's so terrible, man.
It is, but listen. Big shout out to Kyle Metcalf. Kyle, $20 super chat says, "Thank you, Awthentik and the Beard, for a great year. Glad the Beard ended up coming around on my boys. Love the depth and insights from you both. We appreciate you, Kyle. And listen, we are only as strong as the community is here, and the Awthentik and the Beard fam, Lamb is here. Hey, listen, send it to everybody. Tell everybody, come on over. It's a party tonight. You got 86 people watching across all the platforms. We appreciate the love, Kyle.
The platforms.
I'm feeling good now. I'm on a roll now. Listen, I'm fired up. Big shout out to Tommy Football.
Man, hey, listen, y'all gonna have to stop.
With the 2-pounder. Checking in from the UK. I don't know exactly where, but he's in the UK because he's got the pounds. Says, I hate Brian Dable, but I love Awthentik and the Beard. Let's go. Big shout out Tommy Football. Appreciate the love and the support.
Tommy's the GOAT, man. Best accent in all of Giants Twitter, man. That's my guy right there. Big salute to Tommy one time.
Appreciate you.
We at the end of that run? We at the end of that financial aid run?
Listen, we are not. We got one more. Big shout out to Zach D with the $2 super chat. It says, one game does not define a career. I had to go through this a whole lot last night on Twitter. But listen, we're in that society now where it's like one game it doesn't matter if it's good or bad. People are just, that's how people want to look at things now.
They don't watch college ball all year long, right? Then they tune into the national championship and go, I don't see what all the hype is about Michael Penix Jr.
Yeah. Oh, or that. Game. And it's the same. It's the same way about both. It's like I saw somebody saying, "Oh, I can't wait till the Commanders draft Blake Cronum," and I'm like, I saw people out here doing like, we got to move on from Brian Robinson. He's got a fumbling problem.
I did see that. I'll reserve my comments on that. He's a decent running back, though. He's a decent running back.
He's good. I mean, listen, running back.
He's a good running back.
He's good.
Good can sometimes be mediocre. It's tough. It's tough.
All right. Well, big shout out to Behind the Fiends. We're lifting the spirits back up with the $5 super chat. Says Dable's got to quit the smoke and mirrors speak because this is his and Shane's make or unemployed year coming up.
Mm-hmm.
They better get it right. Get it right. Get it right.
They better get it right. That's a fact. And, this the part that's alarming is we've gone through coaches being fired after 2 years for 3 straight regimes. And now Brian Dable can't even make it past 2 years, entering the 3rd year with the same coaching staff. So still not getting stuff right in New York. It's very frustrating, man. It's frustrating. I'm like, can we just get this right? Can we get the head coach? And now I got my question marks. I definitely got my question marks. And a lot of people don't want to hear that. I noticed this, man. When your team is bad, like more than half of the fan base, they don't want to hear you speak on the negative stuff. They want you to be like, oh, man, next year, up and up, man. We got the 6th pick. We're going to be right back in the mix, 9 wins. I'm like, I can't do that, dog. I can't sit here and look at a team that won 6 games and be extremely happy about it. I just can't do it. So, yeah, Brian Dable, Joe Shane, you better get your shit together, or you're going to get your shit together and pack it up and get out the door. It's that simple.
I hope, for the sake of sanity, that they figured this out because, like I like to be like, somewhat close here in the retread
man,
life.
To close that gap.
Yeah. Giants and Commanders, we need a little bit more, not less. Okay.
Facts.
So, yeah, that's where I'm at.
All right, so the AATB financial aid is come to an end?
Yeah, we're good.
Big shout out to All right. So before we move on from this game, I did want to touch on the Ron Rivera thing. You talked about it a little bit. You pretty much said that was the expectation and whatnot. But I want to know what you think about this one right here. Should the Commanders keep Eric Bieniemy going into next season, at least as the offensive coordinator? What's your thoughts on that?
So tough, man. Listen, I love Eric Bieniemy, and I was on record of saying it was one of the best, off-season acquisitions in the entire National Football League. I think he was under a microscope more than any other offensive coordinator maybe in the entire National Football League. I feel like everything that he did was analyzed to a little bit kind of pushing the brink of stalker-like almost. I thought that it was going to go a lot better than it did, and I thought that the plan would be transitional, that Eric Bieniemy would be, take over for Ron Rivera. That was what I thought was going to go down. I don't know. I think I'm going to leave this up, obviously, to the next head coach. But I don't think that if it would have went better and we still finished the way that we finished record-wise and there wasn't as much question marks about the offense, I think it would have been a no-brainer. But I don't know if you can just get rid of everybody and just keep Eric Bieniemy. I don't know. It would have to be some sort of instant, relationship to the new head coach and the new GM and stuff like that. But I don't think that we can keep Eric Bieniemy. I think he's probably he probably wants to move on to. I don't know if he's going to get any head coaching interviews.
Not after this one.
So I don't know.
That's why a lot of people question him coming to Washington to be the offensive coordinator when that was probably his best chance of becoming a head coach in the league. I definitely thought it was interesting, but like you said, thought it was kind of like an alley-oop situation to get him ready, to be the head coach. I'd say this: if the Commanders go out there and they draft a quarterback, they should probably not bring back Eric Bieniemy if they're bringing in an offensive-minded coach, especially. But you never know. I don't think Eric Bieniemy is the biggest problem with Washington. I will say that.
No, I don't think so either.
All right, I starred your comment, Albin B. I definitely want to talk about that when we go off into this Giants matchup here real quick. So let's talk about it, man. The New York Giants took on the Eagles. We welcomed them to MetLife here this past Sunday.
Giants are on the board with 11:16 to go here in the third.
All right, y'all, let's talk about it, man. The New York Giants finally defeat those Philadelphia Eagles one time, 27-10. A do want to bring up this comment here. I think this is an interesting one to open up this segment with. One time I did start right here. So Alvin B says, to be fair, the Giants should have won 9 games. Should have won the Bills, Jets, and Rams games. Okay, so I love when people say to be fair, and when I say I love, I hate that saying. I can't even front. I hate when people say to be fair because it's usually not being fair. If we are really going to be fair here, right, the Buffalo Bills played a really trash game against the New York Giants. They were a better team dealing with an offensive coordinator that they were just about to get rid of. The Jets game, okay, if we want to play to be fair, if we're really going to be fair, they should have had Aaron Rodgers at the quarterback position, which you probably look at that game as not even being close as it was. The Rams game, yeah, you came back towards the end of that game, a couple of mistakes, but like I saw no Mets, no Nets, no Jets say, could've, would've, should've, man. We didn't. That's just the facts. And if you were to take every one-score game and try to flip them around into the favor of your team, I think that's doing yourself a disservice, and that's really not being fair. And I think that's what Brian Daboll and Joe Shane did last season. They were like, yeah, we're a good team. They didn't look at those 7 wins by 1 score or less and even think about that as a factor of maybe they're not as good as they thought they were. You come into this season and you get humbled extremely fast. And now the New York Giants are, sitting as a 6-win team with a surprise win against the Philadelphia Eagles. So I don't think we could necessarily say to be fair, but I feel you. There were games out there that the New York Giants absolutely could have won. But, what happened is what happened, and it didn't happen. But shout out to Alvin one time in the building. Definitely appreciate that statement. I love statements like that split the room, get people talking. But the Eagles end up, falling to 11-6 in this one. The Giants improving to 6-11 is just terrible. That's just trash right there. The Eagles were favored by 5 in this game. The Giants came in with a 3-game losing streak, end up winning this one 27-10. And the Eagles finished, losing a lot of games here down the stretch, okay? The Eagles started the season 10-1 and have been 1-5 since then. Giants snap a 4-game losing streak to the Philadelphia Eagles, and the Eagles end the season losing 5 of their last 6 games. The only game that they won during that 6-game stretch was against the New York Giants on Christmas Day. The Eagles defense has now allowed 25 or more points in 6 of their last 7 games. Giants' 17-point margin of victory was their second highest in Brian Daboll's 2 seasons as a head coach. We got to fix that. Like, where the blowouts, man? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm trying to get some real big W's.
I don't know if we're blowout teams yet, but
yeah, we're not quite there just yet. The Eagles are now locked into the 5 seed, which is crazy to be going into wild card weekend and not have a home game with that kind of a record. That's definitely wild. The Giants fell from pick number 5 to pick number 6, not in the NFC playoff picture in the draft. And we finished the season 4-4 at home, so not too bad at MetLife Stadium. 2-1 in division games. Bro, do you know that the Washington Commanders are one of 2 teams to not win a division game all damn year?
Yeah, I know that. Thanks for reminding me. Appreciate that.
Had to let people know, because I didn't know that until about 30 minutes before we went on air. I was like, they didn't win no divisional games. You know
I mean, last time when you asked me the last team that we beat, I was like,
You were struggling. I saw you was like, Denver. Had to go all the way back. Do you know who the other team is that didn't win a divisional game this year?
Carolina Panthers.
Do my eyes say you got that right?
No. Let's see. Chargers?
Strike 2. I'll give you one more guess.
Wasn't the Jets, because the Jets beat the Bills.
Stop. You cheating now. Now you that's how you do, because then you're going to look at my face when you say it wasn't the Jets, because the Jets will be like.
Damn, that's tough.
You got this, man. Come on. Just think draft order.
Arizona Cardinals.
There you go, man. My guy. Okay, shout out to the Beard. I kind of alley-ooped him that one time. So the Giants led at halftime in this one 24-0. Eagles they waved that white flag early. They were just like, all right, man, Jalen Hurts, finger looking dislocated. He was out there like using his strong hand. That joke was crazy. And they put him on the bench along with Lane Johnson, a few other starters. Jason Kelce was on the bench as well. Now, this was the 4th game this season in which the New York Giants shut out their opponent in the first half. Definitely got to find a way to fix that. 24-0 at the half. Cowboys were winning at that point too, 21-10. So I think that the Eagles kind of scoreboard watching were probably like, all right, let's pack it in. You got A.J. Brown getting hurt in the game. People dropping like flies. It probably made sense for them to do that. The Eagles had 0 passing first downs in the first half. They were 1 of 7 on third down. They ran 32 plays for just 102 yards. The Giants won the time of possession, which was absolutely important in this game. In the first half, too, they won it by 3 minutes. The Eagles had just 11 total yards in the second quarter. And Tyrod Taylor, man, he had a little streak there in the first half. 10 straight completions. Jalen Hurts ended the day 7 of 16 for 55 yards, 1 interception. He was sacked twice. The Eagles' first half possessions: punt, fumble, turnover on downs, punt, interception, and a second interception from Marcus Mariota. Now, I talked about the keys to victory during our preview show. Number 1 was to protect Tyrod Taylor. And Tyrod was sacked just 1 time in this game. Tyrod's playing some really good football, man. Over 275 yards through the air in his last 2 games, 300 in one of those. So you got to give Tyrod Taylor his props here. I talked about getting pressure on Jalen Hurts. We did sack the Eagles 5 times on the day, but 3 of those were on Marcus Mariota, who I might add, Marcus Mariota, I tweeted this out. Giants fans thought that I was throwing some shade at Jalen Hurts when I tweeted this out. Marcus Mariota was 13 of 20 for 148 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. QBR of 62 out of 100. That QBR is higher than all but 1 game from Daniel Jones this year. I did say Marcus Mariota could have been an option as far as a bridge quarterback. Did have the interception. He was a little bit kind of shaky as far as his accuracy. Can't forget no Devonta Smith in this game. A lot of people gave me pushback when I said that on a preview show. Dude was in a boot, man. Like, you're not playing the following week, when you're in the boot, right?
Professionals.
We're professionals, yes. A.J. Brown ended up getting banged up on his first reception of the day. The Eagles committed to the run a little bit, or did they? I mean, they did have 24 attempts for 133 yards. Marcus Mariota, 6 attempts, 46 yards on the ground.
Still got a little bit of wheels on that steamboat.
Listen, man, like, I will say this. And people like debated me when I said this a while ago. I think that Marcus Mariota is all right, let me start with the easy part first. He's a much more athletic quarterback than Daniel Jones is. I think he runs better than Jalen Hurts. I don't know if you noticed in his game, like, he's very agile on his feet. And when he get going, he kind of looked like a dude that has high athletic ability. Like, he's a fake-ass running quarterback. That's how I look at Marcus Mariota. And I think that this year we saw kind of a regression in the way that Jalen Hurts runs the ball. Now, Hurts is a much more physical runner, and I think he's a more productive runner. But I just think the athletic talents of Marcus Mariota, he kind of showcased him in this game. He looked like he was a little nervous in the beginning, when he first got out there and whatnot. But I would say a decent second half from him. Now, I did want to bring up this tweet that I posted on my Twitter that this tweet went absolutely crazy. I mean, so many people, most people were in favor of this tweet, but a lot of people were like, bro, nah, man, you're tripping. Tyrod Taylor's better than Daniel Jones. And I said, argue with your mama. And people still was arguing with me.
Don't at me.
Don't at me. I'm not trying to argue with you. I'm just trying to put a statement out here. And I'm sick of people on Twitter being like, you're spreading an agenda. What's this narrative? What is this narrative that you got? Bro, I'm just one dude telling you an opinion.
I will never forget that the knowledge bomb you dropped me when I said pushing a narrative.
Oh, yeah, man. Listen, man, I'm not Stephen A. Not even Stephen A. Smith could push a narrative. Brian Dable himself would have to come out and push a narrative on Tyrod Taylor being better than Daniel Jones. But I just think that this is absolute facts at this point. Just use your eyes on the field. 22 of 32 in this game for 297 yards, 1 touchdown. He did have the 1 pick. They were trying to force the ball to Sterling Shepard in his last game. Like, they really was trying to get this man in the end zone. I wanted to see Tyrod go over 300 yards. He had 297. Passer rating of 98. If that dude could stay healthy, he could be a viable option at the backup position. But every time he gets hit, he's coming off the field like, coach, something. It was his back during this game. It was his thumb during this game. Like, this dude is fragile. Somebody called him a styrofoam lean cup. And that's exactly how Tyrod Taylor plays the game. But I definitely think that he's a better quarterback than Daniel Jones. And shout out to Dan Schneier. He came into that thread, and he said the tape definitely says it this year, but he was unwilling to say that in total that Tyrod Taylor is better than Daniel Jones. And I think I feel like people are afraid to say that stuff that they know is not really good for business, because when you say stuff like Tyrod Taylor's better than Daniel Jones, listen, I guarantee you when I go look at our subscribers after the show, we're going to lose about 2 or 3 from this segment right here. I promise you. They're like, man, I hate this guy, Awthentik. All he does is rag on Daniel Jones. Listen, I'm just keeping it real, man. Tyrod Taylor playing some really, really, really solid football, and I got to give him his props. probably the last game we're going to see from Tyrod Taylor. So big shout out to him one time. Now, I do like the way that the New York Giants committed to the run early. Saquon in the first half, 11 rushes for just 29 yards, 2.6 yards per carry, which is nothing, but at least they committed and stayed with it. They stuck with the run. In return, Saquon had 2 touchdowns on the ground, both in the first half. He had 2 receptions for 51 yards. One of them was the big, go route down the sideline. Nice, another good throw from Tyrod Taylor in the game. Saquon ended the day with just 46 yards, though, on the ground on 18 carries. But it was nice to see a first half with more attempts than the second half. And Eric Gray, first game I seen him look pretty decent all year long, man. 3 rushes for 19 yards. He definitely had the one big run for a first down. Like what I saw out of him. And Tyrod Taylor added 8 carries for 38 yards as well. Can't go without talking about this defense one time, and then we're going to get off into the defensive coaching situation as well. But Xavier McKinney with a beautiful, beautiful toe tap interception on the sideline. And he had a second interception in this game. Nick McLeod, who a lot of people are saying now could be a piece moving forward for the Giants, had the nice forced fumble on A.J. Brown. Kind of did a little bit of a hip drop tackle there, but he didn't put his weight on A.J.'s knee. And I do think that that kind of saved A.J. Brown's, possibly saved his season, to be honest, because had he put the weight on his knee, I think A.J. Brown would have blown out that knee. But Nick McLeod played really well in this game as well. Bobby Okereke, man, and Xavier McKinney, they played all 65 defensive snaps in this game, and they played every snap for the New York Giants on the entire year. 1,228 plays. Xavier McKinney and Bobby Okereke were on the field for every last one of those. Xavier McKinney's going to be coming up for a contract. Things about to get real dicey for the New York Giants when it comes to these, re-signing some of these free agents. We got 2 guys that are going to be at the top of the market, Saquon Barkley and Xavier McKinney. And Dane Belton, 6 tackles in this game, 1 sack, 2 tackle for losses in this one, man, just balling out. And I think with Tyrod Taylor at the quarterback position, he really showed you that our wide receiver core is not really as bad as people think they are. Wan'Dale Robinson, 5 receptions on the day for 85 yards. I think every one of those was in the first half, if I'm not mistaken. And, Wan'Dale finishes the year leading the New York Giants in receptions with 60. And this goes to, and I know I kind of threw some shade at Brian Daboll early on, right? But this is one thing that I think we got to give Brian Daboll his kudos on. 2 years in a row, the catch percentage from the slot position for the New York Giants is extremely high. Richie James last year led all wide receivers in the entire NFL in catch percentage. He was over 80% catch rate. Wan'Dale Robinson, 60 receptions on 78 targets. That's absolutely ridiculous. Yeah. And Darius Slayton had a good game in this one, too. He had the touchdown. He had 62 yards receiving on 5 receptions. He finishes the season leading the Giants in receiving yards. That's 4 out of his 5 seasons that he's led the Giants in receiving yards. So, big shout out to Darius Slayton.
It feels like yesterday when we were like, Daniel Jones and Darius Slayton, rest in peace, Dwayne Haskins and Terry McLaurin. It's going to be, a battle.
After that first season, I really thought Darius Slayton could be a guy. 8 touchdowns. He was pushing damn near 1,000 yards. We were like, ooh, him and Terry McLaurin, like we might have ourselves some future wide receiver ones here. But Jalen Hyatt, just 2 targets in the game. I didn't really like to see that. 1 reception. In 17 games this year, Jalen Hyatt, 40 targets. 32 of them were from Tyrod Taylor and, I was about to say Tommy DeVito. So you're looking at 8 targets in 6 games from Daniel Jones, 2.3 targets a game. We got to fix that next year. Or you got to go out there and go get a wide receiver 1. I was looking at the free agent market for wide receivers coming up this year too, man. Your boy from the Colts is going to be a free agent, Michael Pittman Jr. Yep.
They have a player option on him?
I'm not sure what they got on him, but he was on the free agent list when I saw it today. I'm going to send you this chart. That's a really nice chart, too, for all the free agent from every position, too. It was a really nice chart. But Michael Pittman, there was somebody else out there, too, that was decent. I know Odell Beckham's going to be one of those guys if the Ravens don't re-sign him. I know he's got a couple more games. I like what Odell does to that locker room. But, I think Wan'Dale's the future. Jalen Hyatt, I'm pumping the brakes on. They got to find a way to get him the ball. But this was a good showing from the Giants and from the wide receiver core. It wasn't all good. The Giants did, go another first drive without scoring a touchdown. They went the whole season, bro. Not one drive to start the game with a touchdown. Dang. That hasn't happened to the New York Giants since 1997. So they got to find a way to clean that up. The Giants also did not score a second-half touchdown. That's 7 games this year where they didn't score a second-half touchdown. 10 different offensive line combinations this season. We had a new one this past week because JMS was out at center. Ben Bredesen took over. There was some funky snaps there when Tyrod Taylor did hurt his thumb. This was the Giants' first 400-yard game with 400 yards total since week 2. Third down was a little bit better, 6 of 13. 29 rushing attempts for 108 yards. Not too great, but the one number I thought that stood out with Tyrod Taylor, quarterback, was 9 yards per pass. Before we get off into talking about some of these things that, transpired on Black Monday, what was your thoughts on this game?
I mean, the second quarter for the New York Giants was phenomenal, 21 points. I'm pretty sure that's probably the most points you guys have scored in any quarter all season long, maybe outside of the Arizona Cardinals game.
Yeah, maybe that Cardinals game.
But yeah, I thought that was a good showing. 1 of 2 in the red zone for the Philadelphia Eagles. The New York Giants were in the red zone. We went crazy over the 7 number. The Giants were in the red zone 6 times.
Let's go.
3 of 6 in the red zone. You know, the Giants could have really, blown out the Philadelphia Eagles. Okay, 3 of 6 in the red zone. That's a little. You would want to see some more, maybe 4 of 6, 5 of 6, 6 of 6. But the craziest stat, I'm getting a little greedy. The craziest stat for me was the New York Giants forced 4 turnovers. Do you know how many points the Giants scored off of those 4 turnovers?
I'm gonna guess 0.
Bingo. 0 points off of 4 turnovers. The only time the Giants scored off of it wasn't a turnover, but a turnover on downs the Giants scored points on. But besides that, if you're a team and you're playing for a little bit something, or in the playoff run, or you're a good team and you get 4 turnovers and don't get any points off of it, say the Eagles are playing like how they were in the beginning of the season, this game could have been drastically different. It would have been something that would have been talked about a lot more.
Yeah.
But still forcing 4 turnovers is a good thing, because we talked about that. Like, sometimes if a team can, prevent another team from scoring by forcing those 4 turnovers and win the game, it's a good thing. But, sometimes you need to score points on that. I thought that was an interesting thing from this. Another interesting stat for me was, you talked about the Giants breaking down each individual rush. The time of possession they ended up winning was by about 5, almost 6 minutes. 30 rushes total from all those guys, so that you broke down each one of them individually. I thought that, those 2 things go hand in hand. And if you guys didn't see it on Twitter, one of the things I saw Awthentik talking about too was, people always want to look at the yards per attempt with Saquon, but it's the flow of it, the act of the rushing. That I believe you said that it keeps the defense on their toes. You know what I'm saying? And not only
off balance.
Yeah, keeps them off balance, but also just that time of possession is really critical if you're able to run the ball 30 times. The last stat that really stuck out to me in this game was average yards per a pass. Philadelphia Eagles, 4 yards per a pass.
Yeah,
average
terrible.
yards per a pass, which I'm going to go out on a limb and say this is the highest it might have been all season long.
Yeah, 9 yards.
Yeah, I had 8.5 is what I got, average yards per pass at 8.5.
I had 9 on ESPN.
But yeah, so I mean that's got to be probably the highest I'd imagine all season long, and I think it just, for me, it stands out too, to kind of go back to the Tyrod Taylor and the Daniel Jones sort of situation. It's just those weren't you don't see the shots being taken, you don't see the big plays being taken from Daniel Jones this season at all when he played. I think you see that with Tyrod Taylor. I don't think that by us saying the things that we say about Tyrod Taylor means that we're saying that the Giants should move forward with Tyrod Taylor as their starting quarterback, but I think it just goes to show that the Giants are definitely in the quarterback market, no matter what Daniel Jones' contract is. That's what I got from this game.
This is an interesting one from Crypto Moves. He says Tyrod showed he is a 13-year smart veteran. You have to compare Tyrod at year 5. Was he better than DJ back then? Awthentik in the beard?
Ooh, I think so.
And oranges.
That was the year he took him to the...
Taylor had even played in year 5 yet.
Isn't that the year he took them to the playoffs?
I want to say that's year 7. It was 2017 when Tyrod took the Buffalo Bills to the playoffs. I'll look it up right now. So 1, 2, 3, 4. In his 5th year, he had just got the start for the Bills in his 5th year. He threw for 3,035 yards, 20 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. The year after that, which was his 6th year, he threw for 17 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, and 3,000 yards. And then the year they went to the playoffs, he threw for 2,800 yards, 14 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions. What you think, Beard?
I would say yes, he's better.
Yeah,
than,
I would
than
say
Daniel
back
Jones.
then he was probably even more better than Daniel Jones. Right now, the thing that I think why it is not apples to oranges is because Tyrod Taylor's a backup quarterback. So if it's apples to oranges, it's in a bad way. It's being allergic to apples, and Tyrod Taylor's the orange in this situation because he's a backup quarterback and he's outperforming our starting quarterback. So I think that makes it even worse.
Yeah.
This is apples to potato wedges from KFC or something. This is just different.
I haven't had potato wedges from KFC in a long
I heard they
time.
took them away, changed them or something like that. I haven't ate KFC in 100 years, man.
I
It's been
can't
way
tell you the
too long.
last time I had KFC.
But that's probably Tyrod's peak of his career. And then you look at the 4 years before that on the Ravens, he didn't play. He really did not play. He had 2 yards in 2013, and then he had 18 in 2011 and 179 in 2012.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean I think Tyrod is the better quarterback for sure. In any take him in any point in their career, maybe. I think he's probably the better quarterback. But I do want to get to this Wink Martindale stuff. Talked about it a little bit in the press conference video that we released just yesterday. Beard, what you think about this, man? I'll let you go on this one first. Was parting ways with Wink Martindale a mistake for the New York Giants?
For me, it points to obvious tension within the staff, in my opinion, because it's not. And I think somebody touched on this earlier. It's not like the Giants' defense was bad. They weren't great, but I think that without the way that the Giants' defense performed when it did perform this year, the Giants are looking at Commander numbers. Does that make sense? That's kind of like where I feel, but I also feel like I don't know if I would necessarily call it a mistake. I think that sometimes people really want to force things, and I think maybe it wasn't a good fit for everybody. And I think that, it just makes sense to kind of not try and force the issue to make it work moving forward. And I think maybe kind of start fresh. Do I think that the way that it was all handled was a little bit of a mistake? I do. I think it's not necessarily a good look for the coaching staff, the front office, the organization as a whole, especially now that you're going to be having to be going out and trying to find a new defensive coordinator. I think the way that it went down by, firing his guys and then expecting him to stay on probably wasn't, that was a mistake also. So I think parts of it was a mistake. I think the actual ending of the relationship was not a mistake. I think it's probably better for Wink and better for the Giants moving forward to try and start fresh defensively in that aspect.
There's a couple of things that make me not think this might be better for the Giants moving forward. One is the way that Dexter Lawrence started to play in the Wink Martindale scheme. That's one thing. Because Dexter Lawrence, previous to Wink Martindale, was a good D tackle. A lot of people credit the defensive line coach to Andre Patterson. And you can't forget, if you remember Brian Cox from the Miami Dolphins, he's also a defensive line coach for the Giants as well. So a lot of people are crediting them to the technique. People in the chat are saying there's new information, but I'll speak on this from what I know so far here, right? Jay Glazer came out and he had the reports about, Wink Martindale and Brian Dable butting heads weeks ago. And a lot of fans in the Giants fan base kind of ignored it. And, I feel like when we get negative news as Giants fans, we want to try to just dismiss it. We saw this with the Mike Lombardi news about the disease of me in the locker room. And I feel like people treated the Jay Glazer reports the exact same way. And in hindsight now, there are a couple of things that stand out to me about the Jay Glazer report. And one of them was that it was the way that Brian Dable was talking to the coaches, like talking down on them, cursing them out, doing all that stuff. Those reports seem like they come directly from Wink Martindale. I would not doubt it if Wink Martindale was the person who was leaking the information to Jay Glazer. And, I did see about the 24 hours on the back of the play sheet, which is wild. That's absolutely wild. It's almost
what
like
was that? I didn't see the correlation. I saw
it's almost
the
like he
thing.
knew he was going to be out of there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And, I posted the video on our YouTube shorts, where when you look at when Wink Martindale was brought up, like Joe Shane in the press conference got extremely nervous. Like he's like fidgeting and like reaching for his phone. He's looking away. And Brian Dable, like I told you, he starts to, well, and to me, that's just like, I understand y'all aren't trying to be extremely transparent, when relaying the information to the fans, but I just think there's a better way to do that. Like Bill Belichick it, bro. Like just be like, we're not talking about that right now. Next question. Because when you start to talk too much, I feel like that's when you start to like, now you're showing your hand a little bit.
Rivera.
If it's poker. Ron Rivera. Yeah, Ron Rivera be up there. They'd be like, yeah, this game could put you over 500 for your career. And he'd be like, I didn't know. Dog, even if I don't know that, I'm just going to be like, we're not even thinking about that right now.
Yeah.
Move on. Simple stuff like that. So, I know a lot of people in the chat, y'all saying, yeah, Wink is not innocent here. Adam says that as well. Wink just look, and all I can do is just speak on what I see, because I'm not in that locker room, right? If I had to guess who was more difficult to get along with between Brian Dable and Wink Martindale, it's absolutely Brian Dable. Like, this dude be screaming at players. He throws tantrums on the sidelines. He's doing all that. We have not seen Wink Martindale lose his cool in the 2 years that he was here. I'm not saying he's innocent, but at the end of the day, I talked about this a couple of weeks ago. Brian Dable, you need to be looking in the mirror, my guy.
Yeah.
Your offense is one of the worst offenses in the entire NFL, if not the worst offense in the NFL. And it doesn't necessarily have to just do from stemming from injuries. This dates back to last year. Our quarterback had 15 passing touchdowns last year, and people were calling it a good season. You feel me? So it's like, I think, Dable, you got to be able to look at yourself in the mirror. Now, the news has not came out about Mike Kafka yet, but people are still thinking that he's a possibility to be fired as well. They went out there, they did the due diligence to the fan base to fire guys like offensive line coach Bobby Johnson. They also fired special teams coach Thomas McGahee. Those guys absolutely had to be fired. But when I look at the special teams coach, I feel like there should have been less blame on him. Lawrence Tynes put out a really good tweet about him, too. He talked about Thomas McGahee being with him throughout his whole entire journey, even when Lawrence Tynes played in NFL Europe. And McGahee was a big reason why the Giants ended up signing him, to kick. He ended up kicking the Super Bowl victory and all of that. So he was with him throughout that whole entire, like, a decade. And when I look at how Joe Shane addressed this roster, because a special teams coach can only provide productivity from what he is given. Mm-hmm. They didn't even address the punt returner and kick return situation. They had Eric Gray returning kicks, and they were playing Russian roulette with who was going to return punts.
There was some sketchy times back there.
Dude, like, you saw a game there where Sterling Shepard muffed one, and then they're just like trying people. Like, they got Darius Slayton out there looking crazy catching punts. They had Adoree Jackson. They had Darnay Holmes. Like, what is the special teams coach supposed to do here? You guys are bringing in the personnel. When I see the Scottish Hammer shanking punts, I can't put that on Thomas McGahee. Right? I can't put that on him.
That's I don't know what you're supposed to do. I don't really know, like, that sort of back end of, does a punter have like his own coach too underneath the special teams coach?
Of course they do. I'm sure they got, coaches that are definitely, helping them out with the kicking and with the punting and all that. But I just think Bobby Johnson, yeah, they provided you with a bunch of young talent, a bunch of first-round picks up there, or at least 2 first-rounders and a second-rounder. You should be able to make do with that. Usually when a team has a bookend left tackle, they don't have the kind of offensive line issues that we have. So I understand Bobby Johnson. Thomas McGahee, everybody been calling for his job, but I don't get it. And I shout out to Big Dog Status. He says Wink wants to be a head coach, man. I don't know about that. I really don't know about that, because Wink Martindale just strikes me as a guy who's just better off as a coordinator because he doesn't have that loud lead first type of alpha personality, But who knows? Maybe he does. We'll see. I'm sure some more information is going to come out on this. I even saw one of these dudes, I retweeted it. He was at the airport. He saw Wink Martindale at the airport on his way to Florida. Hey, man, listen, hit him straight, Wink, because you're going to be golfing for a little while.
You know where he was going, right?
I don't know where he was going.
Oh, did you see the Josh Harris? Did you see any of the Josh Harris interview, like, press thing and stuff like that from his crib, his really nice crib? You know where his really nice crib is?
Let me take a guess. Like Fort Lauderdale?
Miami.
Miami. Oh, that's where
Yeah.
you think Wink
Oh
Martindale's
yeah,
headed?
that's where Wink went. Wink went down to go visit with Josh Harris and maybe coming
Now,
to
I
Washington.
do hear there are some stipulations there that Wink Martindale, because if he resigns, he won't be able to coach next year. So they have to find a way to relinquish the contract for him to be able to be a DC on another team coming up.
They'll probably be like, "Yo, you gotta have to give us some bread, and then we'll let you."
And this the reports too. I could bank on this. He ain't going to Washington. They don't want him to be in division. He's not going to Washington. No way they're gonna let all them trades, them secrets come out like that. They gonna do everything in their in their power to make it so that Wink Martindale's not within the division, because people are talking about Philadelphia as well. I doubt it.
Big shout out to Gregory real quick. He's asking me if do I want Dan Quinn as your next head coach at Washington. I don't not want him. I think Dan Quinn is a better It's interesting because of correlation here with the Wink Martindale. I think he's a better coordinator than he is a head coach. But I just think that Washington's doing their due diligence and interviewing as many people as possible. I don't really have a preference right now, but I would not. Dan, if you put him on a list with some other people, he wouldn't be high on the list for me.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Dan Quinn was terrible in Atlanta.
Yeah,
he was awful. How he got that Cowboys defense to where they're at right now is a damn miracle. I had no idea he was that good of a defensive coordinator. I thought he was going to be absolute trash, but just following the years in Atlanta where he struggled. But yeah, Gregory said good because you're not getting him. Shout out to Gregory one time. But yeah, I mean, we'll see how these things come out with the Wink Martindale stuff. I'd say there's more than about half the fan base that is like happy. I don't know.
I think people just get happy at people's downfall. I just think that's a thing with fans, because it's like that. I see it's so bad. Like people are like, I never, and maybe this is me growing from when I really wanted Gruden fired in Washington to where I am now, right? To where it's like, I don't really want to celebrate somebody losing their job. You know what I'm saying? Like,
never that.
It's just, sometimes you got to realize that, like, if everything worked out, then everybody would always be in the same position until they were 90 years old, right? But sometimes that's the beauty of sports, right? The beauty of sports is that things are always changing. Situations are always changing. There's so many variables that go into a team. That's why it's so hard to win a championship, no matter if baseball,
I think
football,
teams lack
basketball.
patience now, though.
But yes, very much so.
Old school game that I really like, where you like these offensive coordinators be having like 2 good seasons, and then everybody's like, "Go interview him. Got our next head coach, offensive mind." It's like, dog, back in the late 80s and in the 90s, if you were the head coach for the New York Giants, you was there for a little while. If you were the starting Phil Simms was garbage for like 6 straight years, bro. And they were just like, nah, man, that's our quarterback.
Microwave
bro.
society, man. Microwave society.
And you got to blame the CBA, deal like on that as well, because teams are just so like, they want to get the quarterback, they want to get the coach right so much that they're willing to do stuff like the New York Giants have done, where they're just every 2 years you're firing a coach, you're firing a coordinator, you're firing somebody. Like, we got to have some patience, man. I just want some balance with that, because now it's like Mike Kafka has been a quarterback's coach for Kansas City for who knows how long, right? Ends up coming over to the New York Giants. The Giants win 9 games, struggled on the back half of the season, and all people could say all offseason was, man, we're going to lose Mike Kafka to a head coaching job. What are we smoking? The dude has been a coordinator for a year, yo. Like, I don't get it. Dan Quinn, right? The dude was so trash in Atlanta. He goes to the Dallas Cowboys. I think it's been 2 seasons now. That defense definitely got the complete 180 turn, right? But they're already like, let's bring them back. Like, they just forgot about that. So Arthur Smith, all he got to do is go do 2 years somewhere and be okay as a coordinator, and then we're going to be trying to call him for a head coaching job
I saw somebody on Twitter today, and they were like, call me crazy, but maybe we should bring back Jay Gruden to run the offense for the Commanders. I'm just
Come on, man.
Dude,
Come on,
did we
man.
not remember Jay Gruden sitting on a sidewalk talking to a blonde co-ed in Arlington? Like, do we just forget about that?
Yeah, his wife stood by him in that too. She was wild. That was a wild situation. You ain't supposed to get caught on camera like that. He was out there freaking doing all that. I mean, yeah,
Smoking a cigarette on the sidewalk, looking like me back in the early 2000s.
Yeah, he was looking like he was at a frat party out there. I'm going John Gruden before I go Jay Gruden, and John Gruden got his own blemishes on his resume as well, man.
I did want to touch really briefly. I saw somebody talk about Antonio Pierce. If the Raiders do not hire Antonio Pierce as their head coach, there's a problem. There's a problem.
We'll see, man. You saw what they did to Rich Bisaccia, and that he had the Raiders in a better situation, in a deeper ditch that he was digging them out of. You can't forget that's the year that the whole John Gruden thing went down. Mm-hmm. And what was what's the wide receiver that went to jail during the year?
Henry Ruggs.
Yeah, Henry Ruggs, and the Arnett cornerback.
That entire draft class is gone. All of them.
And I thought John Gruden was doing a really good job over there with Derek Carr. Derek Carr had his best seasons underneath John Gruden, you know? And I do think that bringing up them old emails, he said some wild stuff in them emails, right? But, like,
people are...
I don't know if you... like, look, let me...
Why are you people emailing stuff like that? They not understand, like...
Because they clowning. Do you remember it's sad that I'm laughing at this, right? He said that one coach's lips looked like a pair of Michelin tires, bro. That's a terrible thing to say now. But this is what I'll say about it. Imagine if Eminem, right? Remember how Eminem used to speak back in the day? Yeah. Remember the slurs Eminem used to use, right? Just imagine if they were like, you know what? We're going to go dig up the old albums.
They have tried.
Let's say RIAA. They haven't tried what I'm about to say. Let's say RIAA, who was responsible for all sales and units for all albums across the country, Taylor Swift being responsible for 1% of all music money, which is kind of crazy, but not the point here. Let's just say they were like, you know what, Eminem, we're done with you. That stuff you said 10 years ago, you can't release music no more. That's where I think the punishment might have been a little bit too harsh on John Gruden. They pulled them emails from about a decade ago, okay? And what he says, I get it, okay? He was taking care of his job, and what he said is definitely offensive, definitely crazy. But I don't think that he knew, I don't think, it's for facts. He didn't know that was going out to the public. He said it in private, right? Can we really, and I know he's fighting for his coaching life right now. A lot of people, there's a homie I follow that's a Raiders content creator. He puts out some really good content too. He's pretty much saying like John Gruden about to be back. Because John Gruden was on his way to rebuilding that Raiders team. And that thing, just all because of some beef with Roger Goodell
and Bruce Allen. That's all of that happened because of the Washington Commanders.
Nah, that happened because them emails.
But where do you think the emails came from?
Well, listen, if they want to pull dirt on you, they can pull it on probably all 32 coaches across the league. But the reason why they put that stuff out there in the public is because in the emails, he was talking about Roger Goodell.
Yep, they dug the emails up in the Washington investigation.
Bruce Allen emails. I know. Oh. You know what they would have done if they didn't care about it? Sweep. Right under the rug. John Gruden's making the league money. It would have been nothing. But instead, you know, he saw them emails and he was like, imagine you going through some emails for another job and then you see an email about you. He's like, oh, nah, dog. I'm not going for that. Get him up out of here. And that's what got Gruden up out of here, which is, you know, that's definitely unfortunate. But I think, you know, he definitely deserved a penalty for sure. Definitely deserved a penalty. But when it comes to Washington, I absolutely rule out Wink Martindale. I don't know what y'all going to do with head coach. A lot of people been talking about Ben Johnson. There's a few other candidates out there, and I think y'all are doing y'all due diligence to definitely interview them. But for me, I think this was a mistake for the Giants. I do. Can't forget that Wink Martindale dealt with hella injuries the first year, a terrible roster that was left from Dave Gettleman, Xavier McKinney flipping the ATV, Kayvon Thibodeau out for a couple games, Brian Dable's being ridiculous, putting Adoree Jackson at punt return, losing his number one cornerback. Don't forget, that was before Deontay Banks. Mm-hmm. I don't even know who the other guys were on this roster at that point in time, right? And this year, too, man, just dealing with the struggles from the offensive side of the ball, not being able to sustain drives. His defense is almost out there every game losing the time of possession battle. I think this might be a mistake. We'll see where it goes. Right now, for me, you know, we've already turned into the New York Football Bills. Go out there and get Leslie Frazier.
The New York Football Bills. It's like the Washington Panthers.
You might as well, man. Like, yo, like, I don't know what else they're gonna do with defensive coordinator. The talk about Antonio Pierce, I think he just got to prove a little bit more, and he hasn't even called defensive plays as a coordinator till this year. Things are a little dicey there. I mean, I think people are more hype off that reminds me kind of like how people are always like, we're going to draft Archie Manning. It's just like we're being guilty by association now, and it's a little bit of a nepotism.
I have officially, my phone is going bananas. I've officially been added to some sort of Giants Twitter conversation.
Oh, nice. That's what's up.
It's gonna be interesting.
What are they saying?
I can't even it's just like 75 notifications. It looks like some sort of Twitter chat, like group chat, Twitter group chat.
Okay.
Yeah.
So no Mets, no Nets, no Jets says if Giants didn't fire him though, how is it a mistake for the Giants? They forced him to resign, bro.
Yeah.
They fired his 2 coaches that are his guys. And I mean, without even consulting with him, they fired these guys. So they wanted Wink out the door. Let's be real. And I think everything that Jay Glazer reported, we got to look at it as it's spot on.
Yeah.
And bookend, I'm right there with you. We don't even know if Archie's good, but people are just there like, he's a Manning. Bring him in.
He hasn't played one snap of college football yet.
Yeah, dude. Like, I think he's played one snap.
Listen, I will tell you this, just because I saw the name pop up. If I had my choice and I could pick anybody, I would 1,000% want Mike Tomlin as my head coach.
Well, Mike Tomlin's got a playoff game. You know, that's like saying, well, I want Mike McDaniel as my coach.
Yeah, but I mean, Mike McDaniel, you know, there's a possibility that, you know, Mike Tomlin and the Steelers decide to mutually part ways
with Mike Tomlin after winning 9 games with that roster.
I mean, it would be stupid, but hey, listen.
I don't think Pittsburgh Steelers. I think the Pittsburgh Steelers have had like 6 coaches in the entire existence.
There's 3 coaches for like the last 60 years.
Yeah, dude. Like,
how awesome is that?
I don't think they're that stupid. I think they're smarter than that. Mike Tomlin's one of the best coaches in the league, and that's how he got them to 9 wins. Like, the Steelers are in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Like, think about.
Not only are they in the playoffs, they're 10-7. The Steelers have a better record.
Did they win 10? I thought they won.
I think
9.
they won 10. I think they won 10 games. Yeah.
Yeah, that roster,
which is the combined total of
ridiculous
of Washington and the Giants.
Leave us out of this.
No,
that
listen,
division is really good too, man. Three teams with double-digit wins in that division. That's really good.
Yeah, and think about it too. They did all of that, and all of the injuries in that division. I mean, the Bengals were in it to the end, and when they lost Joe Burrow, everybody thought, oh, bitch, Jake Browning got his girl up there in the little the Jake Browning ski bunny spandex suit.
He was looking.
I mean, it came across my feed and the TV.
You know
I'm not much into the snow bunnies, but I saw the silver suit. And I just I
Josie,
peeked.
you in the chat right now? You hearing this guy? You better come get this guy. Did you see it's an old clip of JJ McCarthy's dad in the stands?
Oh yeah, the finger slide. Oh yeah,
right, that's what you looking. That's what you looking like right now. Josie sending you text right now, like, what the hell did you say? Nah, but yeah, I think with the Wink Martindale thing, we'll ultimately know here within a year or two, if it was truly a mistake. But for the first time, man, I'd say in these 2 years with Brian Daboll, I'm extremely concerned, bro. I'm extremely concerned. I'm definitely concerned about this. I wanted to ask you one thing, and to wrap this Giants segment up, you see the way that Tony Pollard's being used this year, how Tony Pollard's not the same running back? And you remember how they were using him a year ago with Ezekiel Elliott? Like, just imagine if they use Saquon like that. How different of a running back he could be.
Oh, man, I've imagined it. I've imagined it multiple times. Fantasy, just Saquon could be CMC. Saquon could be,
You see, he took it out of context there a little bit. You went a little bit too far.
I did.
2 questions before we get up out of here. Let's go with the Dallas Cowboys here. Are the Dallas Cowboys the best team in the NFC?
No.
You think San Francisco 49ers are better than the Dallas Cowboys?
I do.
All right. I told y'all when Dallas goes see the San Francisco 49ers again in the playoffs, they're going to get their revenge. The Beard, I know you still got that. I know it's still
I
there.
didn't want to like buffer that one. I wanted to be assertive with it. You know what I'm saying? Because
all y'all Commanders
they're
fans.
close.
Beige Boy said the Niners too.
They're close, but I still think the Niners are a more complete team because they have a better running game. They do.
They do have a better running game. I'll give them that. Cowboys got a better pass game.
They do. But that's because they have the better quarterback.
Yeah. Defense. Let's go defense. 49ers?
I think they're dead even in defense. They can both of those defenses can put on a absolute show, but both of those defenses have been exposed at times during this year. I think they're dead even at defense.
Yeah, the Cowboys get exposed in the run. That's where they get exposed a lot. If I had to be one of those teams' defense, I think I would go San Francisco 49ers. I think. But the secondary is where I think Dallas has the one up on them. The linebacker core for the
San Francisco has a better defensive front.
Pass rush is better now.
Pass rush, linebackers.
Shout out to Michael Parsons, too. He did get to that 40.
Yeah.
He got a sack in this game. So big shout out to Michael Parsons. Forgot to mention that.
Yeah, Fred Warner is just lights out for San Francisco.
Yeah, Fred Warner's a beast. And then they got Hargraves over there. They got Chase Young over there. Bosa. Yeah, got to go 49ers on the front and the linebacker core. I'm going to say the Dallas Cowboys are the best team in the NFC. I'm sticking to my story.
I'm not bad at it. There's definitely, factual evidence to support that opinion.
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting playoff. So I hope it comes down to San Francisco and Dallas in the championship. We'll see how that goes. And last question, this is a good one here too, especially for us. Is it time to sell any shares of Eagles stock that we are still holding on to?
Season, or are we talking season long, or are we talking dynasty, like for forever?
This is Awthentik and the Beard season 5. So we talking season.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's time. They are crumbling and they're banged up. Like, listen, if they were crumbling and they weren't hurt, I would say, I might be a little hesitant. But man, damn, this is two times. It took all damn season, but 2 times the Beard came out with an answer. No stuttering, no stumbling. Listen, yeah, it's time to sell, man. They are banged up. Hurts got the finger. A.J. Brown with the knee. Devonta Smith with the foot. You know what I'm saying? Like, the defense is just god awful.
Yeah, the defense
I still think that I'm not 100% going to pick Tampa Bay, but it's tough.
I'll tell you what I would do. I would take my original shares and I would keep those, right? But the shares that doubled and tripled up, I'm selling all those shares.
Oh, that sounds like a Beard answer.
I'm giving them a little bit of a chance. Health is very important. They're gonna need A.J. Brown. If they could sit A.J. Brown the first wild card weekend round and come away with the victory, that would be really good for them too.
Though.
It's a possibility, I think. I mean, the Bucs are a good team. I do think the Bucs are a pretty solid squad, but minus this losing 5 out of the last 6 for the Philadelphia Eagles, I think the Eagles are a better team.
Yeah.
The defense is relatively healthy. They got to find a way to adjust. This has been really bad for them. So I'm going to hang on to a few shares. I was watching First Things First with Nick Wright and what's Broussard's first name? Chris Broussard. He funny.
AKA
Chris
Scotty
Broussard
Booms.
is funny as hell, bro. Scotty Booms.
Yeah, a lot of people. You ever heard that? There's some people that said Scotty Booms look like Chris Broussard.
Yo, Chris Broussard is black, man.
I know. That's why it's funny.
What in the hell? They said Scotty looks like Chris Broussard. Yo, that's crazy. That is crazy right there. That is so wild. I like Chris Broussard, though. He's funny on that show, but all year he was talking about, not losing hope. He was 10 toes down, as he called it, on the Philadelphia Eagles, and every week he'd be like, I'm 8 toes down, 5 toes down.
Man,
he was 2
floating
toes
now.
down. He was like, no toes down, yo.
I used to love listening to him and what's my man's name?
Rob Parker.
Rob Parker. They had a show together I used to listen to on the radio all the time.
It's like Rob Parker got rid of him or something. They were called It was something like The Odd Couple or something like that. Yeah, I used to like that show too, man. Rob Parker's funny as hell, and he lost his TV stint with the RG3 comment where he called him a cornball brother.
Bob.
Cornball brother, not cornball Bob. The Odd Couple, that is what it was. Okay, yeah, I knew it was something like that. Yeah, I did like that show, but I was watching them earlier today, man. Nick Wright, people be hating on Nick Wright, but that dude's an entertainer, man. And I think his takes come from a good place. Like, you know how I always tell you, like, if you got a take, like, make sure you just got something factual to go, with the take and whatnot. I think he does that. He be having some wild takes for sure. I mean, I have my fair share of wild takes as well. But I like Nick Wright. He's very entertaining. I think he knows the game, and when it comes to betting, he knows his stuff, man. He'd be a great feature on the parlay one day. That dude know his stuff when it comes to betting. But a lot of people don't like his snarky kind of personality. But as far as like the TV shows, for sports that are on TV right now, I think First Things First got one of the better vibes. Like First Take is like a soap opera now. Speak is crazy. Yo, somebody clip this up. Joy Taylor, you need to hire me as your assistant. I promise. I could have Joy Taylor up there eating. Telling you, I'll have her. Shady, he's just literally going off the ball that he knows from when he played pretty much. He ain't coming in there with no facts, no nuggets, no nothing. Joy Taylor's up there kind of winging it, I feel like, a little bit. Emmanuel Acho, it's kind of hit or miss, but I think there's a little bit too much on his plate. I liked Emmanuel Acho a lot more when he was with Marcellus Wiley. They balanced each other out a lot more. And then Undisputed, bro, like, every time I see them stupid-ass palm trees and that, like, Miami design they have on the set, I'm just like, whose idea was this, dog? Got Michael Irvin sitting in front of palm trees, drawing up palm trees. Like, yeah, that's definitely not it. Yes, Brother L, I'm with you. We could all be her assistant. Like, Joy just need, like, 6 nuggets. She just need, like, 6 points. Like, you can't go into a football debate with emotions. Like, that does not win football arguments, and people not going to respect that. So
yeah,
no Mets, no Nets, no Jets says Richard Sherman is terrible. What's funny is he's terrible on that lineup, but on Amazon Prime on Thursday night, he's a beast. Yeah. He's a beast on there. See, that's like your surroundings are really important, man. Like when you around Skip Bayless and like Michael Irvin, these dudes out there joking and whatnot.
That's why I'm so good, man. Get to be here with Awthentik.
Don't give me those kudos, bro. I told you, no more the man, the myth, none of that stuff.
I took away the man and the myth. I just said legend. You didn't even want that.
Yeah, I don't want the legends.
They said I'm just a regular dude, and then I said you're a legend, dude. Big shout out though to Behind the Fiends for the $5 super chat. Says, hey Awthentik. The Rivera for defensive coordinator take just needed to see you wake up and fired up.
Thank you. I had to sit up in a chair a little bit like, bruh.
Big shout out to Crypto Moves for the $4.20. He said, Super Chat says, Smoking Bird Pack, LMFG, one time in the building. Felt like Super Bowl.
I like the LMFG. I like that. I might take that right there. Shout out Crypto Moves. Always donating the 420 super chats. I definitely get that.
I'll never forget the first time I said it. I said 1XND building.
Oh, yeah, that was terrible. That was terrible.
Big shout out to Behind the Fiends with $5 super chat. Says, I don't think the team played hard for Dable. I think the team as a whole had more respect for Wink on both sides. And Dabs, I think, resented that.
Damn. That will be something. I wouldn't doubt that, though. I do think that they were definitely more of a Wink Martindale type of, leaning towards his side a little bit. But not being in the locker room, you really don't know, to be honest. You really don't know. But big shout out Behind the Fiends, man, out there in Hawaii, I believe, man. Salute.
Yeah, and big shout outs to Amarit.
Yeah,
Dhaliwal.
I don't know if it's Amarit. I don't know. I'm gonna go Amrit.
Amrit.
I'm gonna go
Amrit Dhaliwal for the $9.99 super chat.
Dhaliwal, yeah.
Just no words, just love. I love that.
Thanks to
Shout out to Dhaliwal. We appreciate you. Thank you for the $9.99 super chat. They heard me say I like the 99, so they threw out the $9.99 super chat.
Yeah,
appreciate that.
Them 9.99s back, man. 9.99 was a vibe, man. Taylor Heineke in the building. 1XBLD. All right, man. Definitely a solid vibe today, man. I told you this was going to be a short show, but we get up here and get the clown and get the talking ball. You already know how it goes, man. Big salute to the family in the chat, man. We appreciate all y'all pulling up, rocking out with us for 18 weeks of Awthentik and the Beard, man. Big salute to y'all, man. We're going to try to keep giving y'all content throughout the offseason. Definitely expect some more stuff, especially when the draft is coming up. It's going to be an interesting time for the New York Giants and for the Washington Commanders. We're also going to be covering the playoffs. Don't forget about that. We'll be doing our previews and our recaps of the playoffs as well. We got to figure out something for some over-under vibes, too. I don't know if we'll do that on a separate show, but we definitely going to figure out something for the over-under vibes. Any last words before we get them up out of here, Beard?
Nope. Big shout out. I mean, today was an awesome day. We appreciate the love and the support. It means the world to us. And like to see Giants fans, Commanders fans, you know, and Cowboys fans, and then, you know, we get every so often some Eagles fans there. But, like, in our chat it's always, like, just good conversation between different fan bases, and everybody has different opinions, but it never gets crazy. It's always love, and I think that that's super important. You know, we're up to 90 people today across all the platforms, so just big shout out to the fam. Like, you guys are killing it. Like, just keep doing what you're doing. We appreciate it. And enjoy the playoffs, man. It's gonna be a lot of fun. It's gonna be a lot of fun. I'm ready.
Yo, I like this from Brother L. We definitely gonna do this. We gotta do some music and some current events vibes. We should do that in the off season. That'll be a good way to kill time until we get to the year. So you got my word on that, Brother L. Big shout out to Brother L, man. Good dude. All right, y'all. So NFC East fans that aren't the Dallas Cowboys or the Philadelphia Eagles, let's get one more bicep in the chat for our New York Giants one time. And the Beards, Washington Commanders one time, because this is the last recap show of the year for those two teams. Again, man, we appreciate all y'all pulling up. Keep your eyes peeled for some content coming out this week. Y'all know what it is. We'll be back here on Thursday for the preview shows, doing the playoffs. Until then, man, y'all enjoy the rest of y'all week. Cowboys, Eagles fans, best of luck to y'all in the playoffs. Y'all know me. I'm no hater over here on Awthentik and the Beard. I want to see y'all flourish. I want to see y'all fans try to get to a Super Bowl. It's not going to bother me one way or the other, man. Until next time, y'all be good. We'll catch y'all on the flip side, y'all. Peace.